Hello.
Thank you. Great. Can you hear us okay in Zoom room? Thank you. Okay. All right.
Muy bien. Bien.
Yeah.
Muy bien.
Or like these.
Lights, camera, translation.
Introducción.
Jordan, can we make an announcement on
Vamos a hacer un anuncio.
there we go.
Vamos a hacer un anuncio.
About the icon, the globe icon?
Yeah, about the globe
today.
icon. It's been
The
made.
announcement today by Verano.
All right.
Got it, yes?
Realiza su protocolo. So we have my feedback.
Okay, just put it back there. Are you okay, Jordy?
You're able to hear me. Did you hear me?
Yeah, but we're hearing it.
So you're hearing me. I'm going to be doing that translation.
Okay, go to audience. And switch to where it says okay, thanks everyone for coming.
Oh, great. No, I just want to do a few thank yous and introductions. My name is Ray Willett. I'm a member of this forming Fire Safe Council, along with some others that you'll meet today. Your former Springs Vice Chair for the MAC, so you may remember me from that. Today we're here to celebrate a milestone. We've been working on this since this was on my radar after the 2017 fires. Obviously, I think it was on all of our radars. The MAC formed. We started following Roberta and her work with the Fire Safe Council. We have a unique area. We'll talk about that more later here. With her advice and her help and guidance, we are here to perform our first step to form the Fire Safe Council, and that's our first public meeting. And with your help and the help of our professionals and partners, we'll identify the projects that we want to take on as a community and the assets that we have as a community. This work began as an ad hoc of the Springs MAC, and I want to remember to thank those that have worked on this along the way. John Wheatley, Iris Lombard, who is with us here today, and started off our grassroots work really with Dana Bravo, who I think is here online, and Mary Carmen from the Springs MAP to really hit the ground early and get out there to build community with the Map Your Neighborhood program. I mentioned Mary Carmen, Chair Itori, Supervisor Gore, and of course the whole MAP, and Karina, the support of the staff of everyone from the county. All of these people are instrumental in our progress at this point. So from our valley, for our local Fire Safe Council, we have Hannah Perot. We're fortunate to have Lucas. Where are you, Lucas? Lucas is the Executive Director at the Napa County Resource Conservation District and has volunteered. His wife, Sarah Sawicki, is here. Let's see, and before I hand this off to Roberta, to introduce her fire safe, her staff and the local fire representatives that we have here today, I want to thank you, Roberta. Thank you for not retiring, for staying with us, for helping all the communities throughout the county that you're doing. There's write-ups on Roberta and the work that she's doing in the local press, and I hope you all out there can take a look at what she's doing, and she's doing amazing work. Thank you. I'll leave it with you.
Cry. All right, well, thanks. That's going to be hard to follow. All right, yes, thank everybody for being here. And a little bit of some behind the scenes stuff. So what we're doing here is we're doing this in person, and we're live streaming, and we're doing a virtual meeting via Zoom, all while simulcasting in Spanish or translating in Spanish. So this is a really big lift for us at Fire Safe Sonoma. We haven't gone to this level yet. With that said, if there are any little bumps along the way, please empathize and don't like be too critical. This is our first time in the water without the swimmies. Okay, so we did a hybrid meeting a little bit ago, but it wasn't this complex. So we were like, well, that was okay. We learned from that. Let's take it to the next level. So that's what we're doing. When I say we, I mean Fire Safe Sonoma and the folks I work with through Fire Safe Sonoma. Fire Safe Sonoma is the countywide Fire Safe Council. We're a private nonprofit. We've been in existence for 25 years now. So we've been working in this space of wildland fire risk reduction before it was popular. So, but recently, of course, it's a lot of new interest in wildland fire safety, which is good. So Fire Safe Sonoma has evolved the last couple of years. I'm a volunteer. I don't get paid for what I do. Well, I do get paid. I get paid for things like what Ray just said. That's my payment. So part of why I do this is I'm a public servant, even if I'm not working for a public entity. A little bit about me, I have a fire service career, started as a volunteer, went to work for Santa Rosa Fire Department as a career firefighter for a couple decades or so. And then I got involved in fire prevention as a career firefighter, loved fire prevention. I love fire prevention more than I loved pulling hoses and throwing ladders. So then I became a fire inspector, fell in love with that as a career, became the county fire marshal, was the county fire marshal from 2008 to 2015. And then during my tenure as a county fire marshal, I was introduced to Fire Safe Sonoma. So I'm not one of the founding fathers, but I know them very well. I got pulled into Fire Safe Sonoma, and I've been working with Fire Safe Sonoma ever since. Yeah, Ray alluded to me retiring, retired as a fire marshal in 2015, tried to retire, fire world got busy, so I stuck with Fire Safe Sonoma. So still trying to do that. Okay, so with Fire Safe Sonoma staff, we have working behind the scenes, we have Marita Ranson. And she is our very first full-time employee for Fire Safe Sonoma. We got a grant to fund her position, so that's great. She came on board about a month or so ago, and she's really upping the bar for us, to help our game and do stuff like this. And then also with Fire Safe Sonoma is Mason Innumerable. He's our techie guy here helping out. He does a lot of the heavy lifting behind the scenes. He's a Grizzly Corps fellow. We share him with the Goldberg Resource Conservation. So I couldn't do all this stuff that we're doing without him either. And then for this particular project, we have Kaylin Knott. She's with WRA. She was our previous fellow. She was a Civic Spark fellow that we had before we brought Mason on. So every year we try to get a fellow. Kaylin was our first fellow. I really loved working with Kaylin, and then I discovered, kind of as this endeavor was evolving, that she went to work for a company called WRA. And WRA was a company we were looking at the contract with to fulfill this project. We got funding to do this project, and 4 community wildfire protection plans around the county. You guys are one of 4. We're also working with Cherokee Road Fire Safe Council, Van Allen Fire Safe Council, and in West County, the Holiday Canyon Parish Fire Safe Council. We're doing 4 of these at once. So I don't know that I couldn't have to do that. So Kaylin and the company she works for, WRA, they're helping us a lot. And going with WRA was, when the board decided to do that, I was pretty happy about that because Kaylin and I worked together before. And I think we worked pretty well together, from my point of view.
Yes, yes, it was beautiful.
Okay, good. All right, so with that, I'm going to introduce the fire folks. Here with us, we have a couple of key fire officials that are going to be engaged as we go through the process of the wildfire protection plan. Actually, let me talk about this CWPP first. So the Community Wildfire Protection Plan, it's as much as we can make it an objective wildfire risk analysis of a given footprint. So your footprint is the Springs map, essentially. We're using that as our base map. So within that base map, we're going to collect a lot of data to kind of assess where the wildfire risks are in that footprint. And then what we'll do when we synthesize that data, we're going to turn that into some key objectives to get done to reduce wildfire risk in your community. And I'll go into detail about the process here in a moment, but that's the idea. And the most important thing I want to share with you at this moment is that it is a collaborative process. When I said we want to make it as objective as we can, in order to help do that, we need to collect data from all of you guys. And so after this, you're going to get a link to a survey. In fact, you may have gotten a little card that gives you a link to this. After this, once you know more about the process, please take the survey, give us that data, because that's one of the bits of data that we need to fold into our big bin of data to analyze and synthesize. It's key in your input. And I'll go into more detail in the presentation with the kind of data that we're going to want from you guys. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to our two fire officials here today. One is remote and one is in person. So I'll go with, I'll go from state to local, if that's okay. So we'll start with Chief Nickel. Can you pin him? And then I'm going to hand it off to Chief Nickel. Okay.
Good morning. Can everybody hear me okay? How about now? Can you guys hear me?
Okay.
Audio might be going.
Just unplug it. Try.
Chief Nichols, we can hear you well on Zoom, but there is a bit of a feedback with the live stream, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Is it on my end or over there?
Can you all, as the in-person participants, can you hear Chief Nichols well? Because you might just need to turn off the live audio.
It is on. All right.
Turn this one off.
Well, no, you mute. Let's do this. You mute.
How about now?
Chief Nichols, can you try again? Test, test.
Test, test. How about now? All right. Hey, well, I really apologize that I'm not able to be there in person today. I'm filling in for your local CAL FIRE Battalion Chief, Justin Bengarel. He's one of my 4 battalion chiefs here in Sonoma County. My name is Ben Nichols. I am the Sonoma County Operations Chief for the CAL FIRE Sonoma Lake Napa unit. So that's the backstory on me. As you're all aware, probably we've had a busy couple days. It's suddenly decided to be fire season. So between fires from the Tahoe National Forest to Dunnigan out to the Mendocino coastline yesterday, we had our hands full with a bunch of initial attack fires due to the winds that we had come in. Luckily, we did dodge a bullet across the bulk of the unit. If you were to look at a PG&E outage map, yesterday morning, there was several in and around the entire Sonoma Lake Napa unit. So unfortunately, that little bit of rain that we got late in the spring has now gone away, and we're back into the full swing of fire season. So that's the idea of why we're here, right? This is an exciting opportunity for me, for the community rallying together to figure out how best to solve the threat of wildfires in your community. And it's work that you guys are doing that is absolutely critical to our success and the success of yourselves and your neighbors in future wildfire events. As you're all well aware, hopefully, When we have significant, rapidly expanding fires such as the Nuns fire, we just don't have enough resources to go around. There are not enough fire engines in the state of California, let alone the country, to put a fire engine at every house threatened by fire. And as you can imagine, it's going to take hours for fire engines to get from LA or Siskiyou County to get into the fight here for a rapidly expanding fire. So it's this critical work that you're leaning into now to identify, prioritize, and make happen, so that when we have wildfire events, you and your neighbors are safer, your homes are safer, and it's setting up firefighters for success. Because instead of trying to extinguish structure fires, we can work on perimeter control, which is putting out the actual wildland fire and thereby doing the structure defense that we are tasked with doing. And so this work is critical. These CWPPs and fire safe councils coming together, a lot of people want to do something, they just don't know what to do and how to do it. So these relationships, the partnerships between your community, CAL FIRE, and Sonoma Valley are absolutely instrumental in the success of providing protection for your communities to come. So I look forward to continuing to work with you. Chief Bengarel will be able to make the rest of the meetings. He just was unavailable today, and I'm about to start a meeting out in Sebastopol with Sonoma State University. So with that, I'll turn it over to Captain Johnson, and thank you very much for inviting us.
All right, great. Thanks, Chief Nichols. Appreciate it. So I think we're all back to normal. Yeah. Okay, cool. Let's unpin him. Rika, can you hear us okay? Okay, good. All right. Wow, we learned a little something. We'll have to do better next time. So thanks for explaining. All right, so next is your local fire official, Barry Johnson. He's with Sonoma Valley Fire District. Yeah, they are recent history. So I'm going to let him have the floor. He's going to say a few words that apply to your local community.
Yeah, good morning. Thanks for the invitation to speak today. My name is Gary Johnson. I'm administrative captain of the Prevention Bureau for Sonoma Valley Fire District right now. But just a little bit of background with me. Worked at CAL FIRE 7 years. Over to Sonoma Valley Fire, been with Sonoma Valley for 17 years now. Just like Chief Nichols said, we're here to be partners with you moving forward in the process of creating the CWPP. We're the subject matter experts, so we want to collaborate and work together on building a great plan for our future. And we want to focus those projects that will work for all of us. We don't want projects to just be developed just community-based, because that might not align with what the real potential threat of the community is. So it's that collaborative effort that we want to build in making those projects. A lot of funding comes from fire safe councils once they're developed. And a lot of funding goes directly to the Fire Safe Council, which supports our mission as a fire district also. So that's what we're really excited about, working with you guys on this project and continuing our relationships with now the Glen Ellen Fire Safe Council will be in our fire district. And then just outside of our area will be the Garrett Road Fire Safe Council, which is farther up on the hill, which will help protect our community. So it's a very exciting time for us in the Valley with 3 fire safe councils kind of coming together. We already have the Thomas Fire Safe Council, and they've done a tremendous amount of work on Trinity and Capevale roads, and we've seen the success that they've had. So we're hoping that same success happens within the Springs area. And other than that, that's all I have for right now.
Thanks, Captain Johnson.
Thank you.
All right. So, any questions from anybody so far about anything? Marika, any questions in the chat at this time?
I'm just amazed that the signal is going from me to satellite and back to that.
It's amazing, yeah, technology. Okay, so then, I'm gonna go into the presentation. So let's go ahead and bring that up and share screen as best you can. Yeah, perfect. And if you can drag it over, you're gonna lose, this is what he sees, this is his monitor. The second monitor I wanted to have couldn't get connected up correctly. So, yeah, so we're just going with it. So Mason, are you okay there with everything?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I'm gonna try to use the slide clicker. I think the battery might be getting low, so we might get a little bump. We do, Mason, can manually click the slides. Can we give Mason a hand? He's got his hand. This is the first time he's ever used a video switcher. And right now he is on 2 computers and he's working with, oh, excuse me, Jordan. Let me introduce Jordan. I forgot to introduce Jordan. Oh my God. Jordan's our translator. And he's on his computer as well doing the translation. And Mary Carmen, our translator. Those in the front end, like that. Okay, so yeah, so Mason is really got his hands full right now. So yeah, first time on a video switcher. Anyway, a lot going on. So let's go ahead and jump into the presentation. Okay, we did introductions already. For those folks in Zoom, the way we're going to do this is because of how we're trying to manage all these things going on at once. What we're going to do when we get to the Q&A is, if you have questions as we go, put them in the chat in Spanish or English, and we'll get to them in the question and answer period. Folks here, when we get to the question and answer period, we're going to ask you directly to share your questions with us, and we'll share that with folks out there. But remember, we are translating. And I have to remember this as well. Try to talk a little slower than you probably normally would to help Jordy out. So he's doing an amazing job. All right, let's see. We are running, in case you know that already or figure that out. So hopefully everyone's okay with that. And we are live streaming on YouTube, so anybody in the world can see this. So let's all behave. And then after my presentation, we're going to do a couple things. We're going to look at a map. Hopefully you all had a chance to put your pin on the map when you came in. And then later on, we're going to go take a little bit deeper dive into the map and explain how that folds into our whole process as we go. And then we also have an idea board that we're going to do where we'll take questions from the 2 fundamental questions. And we'll ask you to respond, and we'll put your ideas on the sheet. And when we get there, Kaylin and I will be doing that, but we're going to be taking your ideas to put on our idea boards, as well as those from Zoom land. So it'll be a little bit of a clunky process. It won't go fast, but we want to capture, when we get there, you'll see what it's about. We want to make sure we capture as much information as we can when we get to that point. Okay. And for more information, you can always visit Fire Station on the staff at gmail.com. That will get you to Mason's email, and if you have any questions, comments, whatever, you can ping him and he'll make sure they get to the right person if that's something you can't answer. Okay. A little bit about fire safe councils. Fire safe councils are, they vary in size. So there's the California Fire Safe Council. They cover the entire state of California. And we all work in the field of wildfire risk reduction. So our missions, for the most part, almost verbatim, is basically what we do is we provide education and outreach with regard to wildfire risk reduction. And then we try to get folks to collaborate and work towards that endeavor of reducing wildfire risk from the state level to the county level to the local level like you are doing. And then even farther than that, you want to subdivide it, create smaller organizations called Firewise communities underneath your local council. It's really kind of a good nesting of organizations. So we work very closely with the California Council. They're kind of like our mothership, and as the countywide fire safety council, we're kind of the mothership for most all of the local fire safety councils in the county and similar groups like Hope groups further down. And we work with homeowners associations who are working towards reducing wildfire risk in their footprints and things like that. As a countywide council, we're absolutely 100% inclusive. Everybody's invited. Whatever we have to offer you, any of our resources to help you get going in the effort of reducing wildfire risk in your communities, we're here to help you. As an example, a couple months ago, Bodega Bay, a group there needed to do a Zoom meeting, but they didn't have the resource to do a Zoom meeting. So we're like, hey, can you guys help us with that? I'm like, sure, let Mason know, he'll make it happen. And that's what happened. You know, Mason knows, Mason set up the Zoom meeting, we do our account, we call it professional account. So we do webinars and Zoom with up to 500,000 people. But anyway, so those are resources we have that we can share if you're working in this space. And then also we have things like constant contact with the mailing, things like that. Whatever we have, once we start engaging with you and helping you build your organization, then we'll share that. So that's what we have to offer. We also help folks with grant writing if you need help with that. I'm not a professional grant writer. I've written a few, some successful, but not so much. But we can also contact folks that help. So what else? Definitely the CWPP process, we're here to help you do that, help you get started as a council to grow, to evolve. And then this is really the first step, I think, in forming a local council is to do the community wildfire protection plan, CWPP. And for me, what that does is it starts out as your initial strategic plan for organization. At the end of the process, you end up with a laundry list of projects that will help reduce wildfire risk in your footprint. So that's, you fill it out, identify the projects, and then try to get those funded to get the work done. So that's kind of the step by step. And so, yeah, so we work under the California Council, and then we're countywide, we work with other groups. Today, we're working with you guys. All right. And fundamentally, what we're here for is to provide education and outreach with regard to wildfire safety. And then those other things I mentioned are also built into all of that. I mentioned projects already, but you know, fuel reduction projects. As an example of that, we've worked in the last couple of years with the Grove Street Fire Safety Council. 2 years ago, we helped them as well. They're fully self-contained. And then about a year ago, a year and a half now, we helped them get funding to do some roadside hazard reduction. Yeah, so we collaborated on applying for a grant, got funded, and deployed that in the footprint. We've done quite a few roadside hazard reduction projects countywide. Grove Street, West County, we've done a few. That's an example of some of the work that we've done. Your next slide. Yes, sir. Okay. So the process of doing a community wildfire risk assessment, as I mentioned earlier, it helps you set the priorities of what you need to do. The other cool part is because it's a collaborative process, we get your input, and you come to meetings like this and learn from each other. And when you go to the link for the survey, at the front end of it is, I'm just going to call it an ask. An ask if you're interested in joining the Springs Fire Safe Council and helping out. It takes a village to make this stuff happen. Also, from time to time, we'll get an inquiry from somebody that says, hey, I want to start a fire safe council in my community. You know, how do I do that? And one of the first things I ask them is, do you have 3 champions in your community that can get the energy behind it to make it happen? My experience is you need those champions. Fire safe council, we can't do that heavy lifting at the community level. We're going to the community, people don't even know us, so they just talk to us. But you guys as local community members, you've got 3 champions in a footprint, they can get it up and going. And in here, you know, my 3 champions are Hannah and Lou and Ray. So those are the 3 champions in this footprint. But those champions need your help. They need to fill out a big team, all the work done that needs to happen at the community level. So that's step 1. So if you can help, even a little bit from time to time, or the big chunk at one time, whatever you can do to help, please help, because it's your community. It's an ownership. And so the other byproduct of that is by having that interaction and that collaboration, you build relationships and you start helping each other. And that just, the degree that can take you is just huge, you know. The synergy that evolves out of that. It's like, if you have one person doing a job, it takes a certain amount of time. But if you have 2 people doing that job, it doesn't cut the time and effort in half. It cuts it down like by 2/3. And so, if you can help, please help. Okay. Next slide. I was hoping not to have to do that. So, the CWPP process, it's a risk assessment. You'll hear me use the term interchangeably, CWPP, local risk assessment for wildfire risk. And really what it is basically the step on, we engage people who know stuff, like you guys. You know stuff about your community. We want to engage with you, hear back from you here through the surveys about your community. What's important? What are problems you see? Things like that. What are the things here in the community that you fear wildfire could take away as well? We take all that information, we gather that, objective that, and then we look for trends and anomalies and things like that. We synthesize the data. And then from that, we identify and prioritize projects. So when we grab the data, we synthesize it, and then we look for the issues. And then we think, okay, so if issue is X, how do we solve for X? We'll solve for X, we need to have this thing. You know, we need to build this project. It's going to cost, you know, $500,000. And then so you identify that project and go to the list. And then we prioritize that. Once we have that long list of projects, then we kind of, okay, what's the most important? Okay, what's the most important that we can do with the resources we have now? So it's kind of like, if you ever heard the phrase, it's sometimes better to tackle the problems that are small enough to be successful at, but big enough to be meaningful. So that's where I think a good place to start with. You might have a high priority project, but it's going to cost $10 million to do. That's a big lift, especially for a brand new forming local council. So you might have a smaller project like Grove Street, as an example. I think one of their first projects they took on to get established and show potential grant funders that they can be successful at managing the project We did an addressing program. So we got funding to do address numbers in front of folks' houses, and that was one of their early projects they took on, very successful. And they did a home assessment project as well. So then once you establish for funders a good record of working through successful projects, then you ask for bigger and bigger money. But when we do prioritizing, we want to prioritize them based on need. So when you go to tackle them, remember, let's try to hit the projects we can do and still have them. And then you implement those. And then you look back and say, okay, what worked, what didn't work? Was that project successful? If not, why not? Let's do better next time. Like today, we did that, right? We're trying to do this event, had a little feedback thing earlier. Okay, we're gonna, evaluate that and do better next. Okay, events. All right. So the risk assessment process is kind of this cycle here. So I identify the issues, identify the risks, measure them, look at solutions, then implement the solutions to monitor the results. What's the cycle? Goes on and on. So where we are working right now is with these three right here. And then where we can help after the scope of this project, you've identified projects that you need funding with or whatever, or even project management, we can help implement those projects. But we're working in this space now for developing the CWPP. That's the same thing. Already talked about that. Skip ahead. I talked about that. Skip ahead. Okay. These are three fundamental industry standards, if you will, for doing a local wildfire risk assessment. Collaboration, which we're doing, you're here today. Prioritize fuel reduction and structural treatment. So what can we do to make the buildings more adaptable for wildfire? So here's kind of the process of how it works. You identify your initial team. I've mentioned we've done here already with Hannah and Ray and Lucas on board, and then folks are very engaged. And then the next step is to get community input. So I have a sticker here that says you are here, because that's where we are doing this now, collecting the input. Next slide. And this is all of us getting together, collecting that community input. And then step 3 is engage with the governmental stakeholders. So after this, we're going to have a meeting with our team and the governmental stakeholders. If you guys are interested in helping in the process, let us know. We'll invite you to that meeting. If you want to be on the team, but we'll meet with Supervisor Gorin, and we'll meet with the CAL FIRE folks, and we'll meet with local fire folks, with water purveyors in the area. We'll meet with parks and fish and wildlife, and those folks will all be invited to that meeting, so we can tell them what we're doing and engage with them and get their feedback. Okay, how can we all work together? Listen to this all. Basically, the pictogram of what I said, working with Supervisor Gorin and fire and law enforcement as well. We'll be working kind of talk and get on the same page. Slide. And then by then, we'll have a pretty good idea of where we are in the process. And we will, by then, have a really good base map. And also, by then, we'll probably start to identify unique areas within that base map that we want to kind of draw a polygon around and figure out this independently, because that area is a little bit. As an example, when we did the Occidental CWPP, we fundamentally have two very distinct and different areas. One was Occidental downtown area, and then there was everybody else around it. We couldn't treat those the same when evaluating risk, so we separated them out, evaluated the risk for each of those areas, and then we also did an overall community after going through the process, particularly when we start looking at the map about that time in the process, we'll be planning open. In particular, when we look at the map, we look at for areas that are, more forested than other places that are more urban. And start looking around structures, and try to get a sense for what kind of structures are they in that footprint. Were they built before or after 2008 when the wildland fire safety regulations construction? Then we look at in that footprint for the fire risk based on other data. CAL FIRE has what they call a craft map or a fire risk map, and they also have a fire severity zone map. So we'll look at those maps and see what your community looks like when you put your community on that map. And you may have areas within the footprint we're working with. You have high fire severity areas, low, moderate, probably not all the same level. That's what we'll look at. We have moderate fire risk, low fire risk, high fire risk, very high, and extreme, using CAL FIRE's information, and as well as Sonoma County. Sonoma County has developed some tools recently that can really take a deep dive into some of these geographical areas and do a pretty good risk assessment. And then we put all that information that we collected, start analyzing and see what comes up. So other things we take into consideration. Wildfire history, we look at the history of that area. We look at the infrastructure. What's the water system like? You guys have PE lines above ground going over the property. We look at things like that. We talk to the local firefighters, we see what the response capabilities are for wildfire. How long does it take to get there? How much water can you get? How you bring water, water hydrants, and is there enough water in the hydrant? The people with water there. Things like that we look at. In mutual aid agreements, we look at that a little bit too. And then we take all that data and synthesize it, and we start to see what comes out of it. Like, here's an example here where almost 50% of this particular question that was asked, the question was, with regard to vegetation along your road, what do you think about it? 49% said it's mostly well maintained, but some areas need improvement. That tells us a lot. So it's like, okay, it's not tragic, but could stand improvement. Some of it not very good at all, about another 25, maybe 25%. Looks good. Well, that tells us, okay, this is telling us that in this particular area for this question asked, vegetation along the roadways probably be a medium priority or a high priority, but probably not a low priority. So that's what we do with the data. We synthesize it and look at it. This is like the web page, I guess you call it. Or call it a dashboard. Maybe it is a dashboard. Of some of the tools that the county has that we'll dive into and get information. Then from that, you set your priorities and identify projects. Next slide. Here's an example of some priorities from West County. So when you identify the priorities, it'll look something like this. What fundamental, how it's rated, high, medium, or low priority. Categories that we identify in the process as your most important items. We'll have a laundry list of those. In this case, they identified emergency notification as one of their overriding priorities. So this project fell into that bin, and then their goals here was to come up with a more improved, robust system that already is built out in the county to alert folks of a wildfire emergency. In this area here, I think it's Occidental. they have a real tough time with the power shutoff he does. And when that happens, they don't have cell phones for very long out there at all. So they wanted to come up with a project where they can buy, equipment and infrastructure to give them some longevity of their cell systems during those power outages. Right? So we do priorities, and then we make the draft. So we draft up the document, and we bounce it amongst the crew working on it. We come up with a final draft. Next slide. There, so we draft the plan. Next slide. And then we close it all out. Next slide. And then when we have the final draft all finished, one of the things we're going to do towards the end of this process, we're going to have another big community meeting like this, where we'll even be better at it. And then we'll share the draft with you all in public, in a public meeting like this, and then we'll give you a couple of weeks to provide comment and feedback on it before we go for signature. So if you guys see any red flags or something you may have missed, then we'll go back and revisit it. And then once those changes have been rectified, then we'll send it out for signature. And the folks that will end up signing on this final document, it's not saying that they promise they're going to do this, they're promising everything they've written and this is going to happen. What they're saying is they agree with the findings, essentially is what they're saying. And so for this footprint, the primary signers on it, they really need to be on there, is the local fire chief, so Chief Steve Aker will sign off on it. CAL FIRE will sign off on it. Chief Mark Gooch, Chief will sign off on it here for state agency. And then Supervisor Gorin will sign off on it for the county government agency. And Fire Station Nova, once it's all out, there you guys go. Go forth and conquer. I think that's it. So yeah, so step by step, we convene the decision makers, build the core team. We involve the community stakeholders. That's where we are today. We're at step 2. Then we're going to go into step 3, engage the governmental stakeholder. Then we're going to go to step 4, we'll finalize the basic plan. We'll put your input on that today when we share out. Then we synthesize the data. That's step 5, conduct a community assessment. We've already started it. What that really means is after we pull all the data, start synthesizing it. Then we look at the data and establish a priorities list. And then we finish the draft. We sign. That's it. All right. So are we going to do math? Okay, so we'll do a math exercise, and then after that, what we will do is do a risk and assets at risk and risk of wildfire in your footprint. So we can stop share now. And let me just see. Any questions so far? Were there any questions?
That I saw, but yeah, maybe turn it like that. Someone shared our concerns
Okay.
for fires and yards.
Okay.
Fire white waste design management, and then also say so.
Perfect. Okay, I can see it. Okay. So I'm going to interrupt you. Okay. Actually, I'm going to have Ray come up and help me with the math a little bit. Okay? And I'm going to, can we go to a closer shot?
Can we zoom in? So we want to run.
Yeah. And then let me just swing up over. All right. There we go. I'm going to say right here. Okay. So, get everybody's. Okay. So, here's the map we're going to be working with. And everything's going on around the area. So that's the area we're working with. Can you share the map visual?
I can have she's dropping the chat.
Oh, perfect.
Spring station photo.
Yeah, so, yeah.
She dropped that, but this
Okay.
one will show.
So, yeah, so the maps are being dropped in the chat for the folks on Zoom, so you can see it. You may want to look at that map instead of this one, because I'm blocking the camera.
So I can just describe
Yeah,
this map.
good.
Yeah, so here's the golf course. Grove Street, it connects down here. So they're actually, the Fire Safe Council connects and goes up into Diamond 8. So we follow the boundary of the Springs Municipal Advisory Council. Fire Safe Council was found with that. We realized that we come. Right here. Yep.
Is there a microphone?
Yeah.
Can you use that? Okay.
Okay. Face the camera.
Just make sure you're facing the camera, not the map,
Okay.
so it picks up.
So
Sorry.
I'm sure I
I
have to
can
do
be
that.
down. You talk, I'll be down.
So along the east side, the map follows the boundaries, but we want to be open to considering, especially on the north side, considering to bringing in people that are on dead-end streets up that hill. When we move this way, there's another fire safe council, my Thomas Fire Safe Council, and there's space in between. So our discussion is with people that on the eastern side of they should be part of our area. So as we go through with this process, this map may evolve to reach out. This is what we're where is it exactly?
Because we haven't been invited to any other fire meetings.
Okay, were you invited to this one?
Yes, through Hannah.
Okay. All right, well, so we need to work on our outreach probably in this area in between us and this area we have the city. So we have some minor population up in the mountains and then in this direction, that's the question where it stops. And then at Glenelg over in this direction, spaces in between. So I think this may start out as a patchwork where we have some voids, but perhaps those will grow together. We have we're in a really unique, and part of the process of this being so slow and taking a long time, besides the fact that we could determine what our organizational structure was. As a fire state council, reverting good information on this doesn't really usually look like an urban area with 13,000 people in it. So and it's more of a fire state council, wildland, fire protection, whereas fire state is more towards it's based upon the NFPA and more urban things. So eventually, we imagine taking this whole area, breaking it into smaller fire state councils, so that they can manage the business. So maybe we add on other firewise, and we increase the scope of ours. We'll just have to see how it evolves. Question?
Yeah, I think the Zoom went down.
Let's just give it a second to try and go back. They say they have sound but no video.
change it.
No,
It's
so
on
the
network.
Zoom just went down.
Yeah, we don't have a LAN.
We just need to start the video again on
Do you
one.
have internet on this computer, Vixen?
Yeah,
Do you want to try doing that?
it would just go to. That's right here.
Oh, you're right.
It's coming up now. Looks like we've got signal. It's making it happen.
Okay.
Sorry about that, folks on Zoom. We lost our Ethernet connection. We have to log that.
I just need this thing to load up again.
Okay.
Yeah, we can eat
That's
more.
right.
Quick break?
All right, let's make a time. Let's come back at 11:30.
No,
Like a few minutes.
Okay.
3 minutes.
11:20, 11:20.
Okay, thank you. Calendars. Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
So when he gets to speak, I'll have to make adjustments on the board.
Yeah. So for some reason, the Spanish is the Spanish YouTube shows Spanish or whatever.
Roll. There you go.
What happens here?
So you kind of put it up here, I think?
Yeah, I think that's the best thing.
I don't think we have a
Pretty
connection.
good. It's not awesome.
It looks like it's
bad, so
trying
it's
to.
all put together.
Oh, yeah. Hour at the concert hall.
I don't know why I would have.
I mean, neither, nothing changed.
I mean, it's still working for here.
our crews that will back up together this lost one of our four keepers.
That sound is good from here. You can see it picked up by the camera. How did that?
Okay, so you have to speak right in the, so we're using a PA and whatnot to get sound better. No? Okay?
I think it's the camera.
Hello? 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 Okay, good now? Okay, let's cross our fingers. Grab, lots of gremlin. It's coming up and down. No, that's the camera. Okay.
Here's the camera. So the camera is not picking this up very well.
Hello? 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 Maybe I'll just stand over here more. So yeah, still good? Look at the camera. Look at the camera. See the battery. The batteries. They're not on battery. They're plugged in direct. All right. Well, it'll work now because I'm standing right next to it. Oh, here we go.
That could ring closer, Roberta.
Hold on. Testing 1, 2, 3, test, test. Okay. Turn up the volume on the mic. All right. So I'll just go ahead. Okay. Okay, so I don't need the microphone. Okay, okay. So it should be perfect now, right? Good? Now it's not. Don't hear it. I hear you, but now it is.
No, we're good.
I wonder if it's wrong. We're not in the right wire. Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, this microphone. Can you hear me okay, Jordy?
No, I don't hear you.
Okay. It's the camera. We're not getting sound from the camera.
It's coming through to here.
It's coming through there. Could we switch to another camera and use a different camera?
I hear you through the headphones, so it's getting to there. Okay. So it's downstream from there. You can hear me now? It's coming through. The signal's coming through to there. Okay. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Okay. 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 All right. Okay, so we're back. What we're going to do now, we get the map. Yeah. Okay, we're going to run out of room. So this is what we're going to do next is an exercise. This is going to require a lot of thought. But what Kayla and I are going to do is we're going to have folks think about first, what do you think your assets have risk and it can be something like a piece of infrastructure, the water system, a lift station for treatment plants, it can be utility infrastructure, it can be a school, it can be a business, it can be something that's hard to put a value on, like a cultural asset, like the statue and the broken house. So whatever you think of in your community that's near you, that would be difficult, that you really want to protect for wildlife. Those are what we call assets at risk. So we want to write those left hand. Folks in Zoom, go ahead and, if you put it in chat, at risk, and then right when we think you're asking this, we'll try to memorialize those. Even if you don't put them on the board, we'll save the chat, and then we'll be able to tap for that information. So, and then in the room, we'll do the same thing. So let's do that for a few minutes, and then we'll switch over to the other half of the activity. So let's, folks in Zoom world, go ahead and put what you feel like for assets at risk to the footprint, your community area, in the chat. And then folks here, come on up, grab a marker, and left hand easel, right and right. Or actually, no, we're going to call it out, right? Yeah. Okay, you don't have to get up. So let's go through the room and see what you think our assets are. Who's got an idea? The brain hall. Yeah. The brain hall because it's a community hub. Anything else? Thinking out. Yes, over. The lives, right? Yeah, the lives, that's an asset. Yeah, the community as a whole. Okay, in the order. And shopping centers. Shopping centers, if you centralize there. Well, yeah, just start shouting them out.
We have a fire department, fire stations.
Yes.
We have a substation on, the substation with the communications capability.
The cell towers as well as the home and properties that are just outside the borders, like our house, business and health.
The health center.
Hospital. Hospital is not ours. No, it's not. We're just like ours.
There's a water district pumping station. I think also getting at Iris's point, maybe like knowing who the most at-risk people are, and people who need our equipment, elderly.
I'd love to do an assessment. I'd like to do a whole project on knowing who our people are.
Yeah.
Also,
So let's do it one at a time.
Let's do one at a time. Well, sorry. The tech is crazy. Doing our best. I think this is on. Yeah. Got the water.
What? Where is it? I don't know, like a house. Oh, we're talking. Okay. See, cell towers. We don't know. Cell towers. I got cell towers.
we got a phone hub on Agua Caliente. There's a major phone exchange. Outside of our station.
AT&T phone. I'll try to hear what you guys are saying and repeat it so we can all hear. Wildlife protection. Invasive weeds, a lot of French broom.
All businesses.
Low income housing, is that up there yet?
Yeah, mobile home parks, low income housing, because all of the valleys, the majority of the low income housing valleys here is right. The watershed.
The watershed with all the pumps. The Hannah Boys Center. Yeah, about power, right? Power infrastructure. Substation.
All of the
Gas
parks,
line.
not just Maxwell.
What was that?
If we get all the parks, not just Maxwell.
About evacuation route planning for a really complicated narrow streets. That's a risk. You guys are listening to risks.
What does chat online have?
I will share with everyone that Bruce and Michael from Sonoma Greens, that they have already created a firewise community at Sonoma Greens. They did a lot of work to reduce people loads over there, and they joined us today, and just want to let you all know that that's an example of what we can do in Florida. Sure. Are having spring sparks.
We have restaurants and snacks as emergency food. Light fire with ice cream.
Some of that history, you're saying the fruit trees reminds me of like the history of the springs. We just found out that there used to be a porno theater at the fair.
It wasn't at the fair.
Oh, it wasn't? Oh, okay. It was the one. Oh, the one is at the top. So I would say, okay, so the rich history of rich,
Good old days.
colorful history.
But buses, so there is the bus depot that the school district has. Bus depot, water. The water district headquarters, and all that. And the school district headquarters. When we had power shutoffs, we did have a lot of need for emergency food, so just any sort of emergency food. Like cold storage. Sorry, speak up, right? Emergency preparedness is my yeah, the stash of emergency. Bridges and roads. Bridges and roads.
Anything else that people want to add?
We turn one into a community center with great infrastructure, with technology.
projects under development, thank you. Under development. We have a lot of empty lots.
We have the
where
sheriff.
expect stuff to go in.
Sheriff station too. Verano. Public works. I think the other thing is identify any construction companies with heavy infrastructure, with heavy equipment. Bulldozers, they often play a role in cutting fire lines.
We got the grains, we got the blues. Let's bring to rest.
Any risks? I'll try to repeat whatever anybody says.
Whoa, let's slow down.
Yeah. Okay. Let's pause. I'll get that one. Hold on. Narrow roads and difficulty in evacuation.
So examples of rest.
Hold on. Can I moderate this? Dead end roads. Yeah. Public nuisance, like.
So buildings are neglected.
Oh, buildings are
That's a big
neglected.
one here. Like the one that wasn't married. One down, building it down. Oh, like that.
We did have vegetation, overgrown vegetation, and invasive weeds. Fuel load. Few exit routes in the whole valley. Large population in a condensed area.
This is very, using density as a overall, right? It's hot springs. It's great. Large.
Question from Jordy. Good signage. At-risk communities. Maybe also the need for bilingual just communications at all times. Challenging. Climate change, drying climate, more fire risk. Vacation homes, asset, yeah, that's a problem sometimes.
I would say we have higher percentage of renters here, so people who are not willing to stay or buy on the upgrade their home. Or not just the same percentage.
You guys have something? Hey, Ray. Those lighting, I hear lighting also in areas that are difficult to see.
Financially sustainability? Yes, I think that's a huge one here, tying back also to the percentage of renters. Yeah. Financial.
And the challenge of interacting.
Maybe the socioeconomic situation overall.
And one of these too, and it really relates to that, is our housing stock is comes from an age that is really low. And the economics of hardening a house for most people is that it costs money.
Maybe for homeless occasionally, that's an issue.
Homeless population that start campfires.
Yes.
So not to beat a dead horse, but there's also dead end streets that cross over into and out of the fire district or fire area. So like Blue Mountain, the bottom half is in it, the top half is out of it. So you're gonna have two sets of equipment coming to help.
The need for coordination between jurisdictions. Yes, yeah. Wildland urban interface, yeah. And the need to.
Communication also. Communication, consistency of communication.
I would say even financial sustainability of the Fire State Council to provide consistent communication.
Yes.
To have a website, have a means of communication, a contact list.
Compared to like road, tears, or like, we're so much bigger than road here, and look how many people don't have time to show up and do something like that. So that's what we want. Community buy-in.
Engaging.
Oh, yeah. So a lot of electric gates that may be difficult to access in the hills, especially. And electric gates that are, oh, yeah, that. Yes.
The sheriff's office, they don't have a key, so they want to know all your people.
Power grid, where are stations, where are transformers?
And gas lines.
And PG&E itself is a big fucking list, excuse my French.
The utilities.
Or how about engaging,
It is, I consider.
how about engaging electrical infrastructure?
Well, that's really sweet.
Thank you.
I don't think you see them now.
Any other thoughts? I think also smoke for public health, so when a fire actually happens.
Yeah, lack of clarity on safe havens, where do you go?
Knowing where the safe havens are, where do you go for evacuation? Yeah.
Knowing where seniors or disabled people may live in the outlying.
Yeah, we got that one, yeah. Yeah.
Airbnb, yeah.
Just a large number of Airbnbs, yeah. Vacation rentals in general, yeah. High prevalence of vacation rentals, yeah.
A clearinghouse for volunteers for ambassadors. Because the community center is supposed to be it, but then the whole executive provided that. And we have no clearinghouse where parity who and how they can volunteer.
System for coordinating volunteers during disasters.
That's great, that's great.
Transportation for non-drivers. People here on Zoom?
Zoom might be
Okay. Zoom has left the room.
What about like animals? Do we feel like we have large animals that need to be rescued?
Oh, that could potentially be a risk, yeah.
Yes.
Or even large animals, horses.
Oh, that's a red.
Yeah. So signing up for alerts with the community. Happy Nixel has done a good job.
I would just say alert warning.
Alert warning, warning system.
Alert warning.
We just did an alert warning exercise in the spring, and we had 300 people do response surveys. And then over 6,000 never received a message. So
We need to seriously up the alert enrollment.
We got language.
You need for Spanish language alert enrollment.
SoCo alert. SoCo alert. SoCo alert's the number one. Then Nixel would be number two. And wasn't too much. The big thing with all the other apps, there's like Pulse Point or Watch Duty, those are independent groups. Those are not government run. So it's good information, but don't just rely on that information. You need to get to your local government agencies and be their Facebook friends for Sonoma Valley Fire District, Sonoma Sheriffs, the County of Sonoma, the City of Sonoma, and then on top of that, SoCo Alert, Nixel. Those are the government run. That's where you should get your information from, not other social media sites or other apps that are out there. That's just additional information. It's helpful, but rely on our governmental agencies to push the correct information.
Almost what I'm hearing is maybe like a one sheet. These are the baseline things you should do because it's so complex. People. Yes. And
Reliable power.
So maybe lack of trust in public services. Yeah. Suzanne? Yeah.
We're going to wrap up. Very farmers have the last. Having the relationship with the businesses, that they are involved in learning too. So we kind of make it with scale well as a forward.
Yeah.
It's pretty really at mom and pops. We don't have customers to stay away, but we really stay relationship with our neighbors. Because they're not very long term here, so we need to form something remote. So actually, this is easy to educate our right? I think that's the collaborative as a point of contact with the yep, the triangle. Love it.
Yeah, it's almost like, so we did reach out to Rotary Chamber, but they have a little bit less presence in the springs, I think, in general. Yeah.
So I would like to introduce myself. I'm Contra, and I am the charter president of the brand Rotary Club of Sonoma Springs.
Okay, great.
And I think that this is something that would be right up one of our alleys of interest. And there are other Rotary members here as well.
Yeah.
See both of them nodding.
Yeah.
Actually, all three of them.
No,
nodding.
yeah, no, what I'm saying is, yeah, building that relationship is critical because you guys have a network. Chamber too.
Let's take one last question because we're
Okay,
about
one
to
last.
time.
Well, I'll say, I'll add to that. This is on center with sources on how to highlight landscape.
Yeah.
And so, there. Great point.
Thank you all. Hand over the mic.
Okay,
As a career.
so, we're gonna start to wrap it up. It's 11:54, we have 6 minutes. So, thanks for bearing with all our little trials and tribulations and the numbers in the system. As it turns out, talking with George, using technology as well as our translator, I think between those putting our heads together, I think that the schools, the internet infrastructure is starting to cut out on us, so apologize for that. Anyway, regardless, I feel like this is pretty successful. The info we got is key, participation is really cool. How many people do we have yeah, we have people online too, so this is a good group, guys.
Everyone's really quick, nobody talked about generators.
Fire department have generators?
Each of our fire station has, it's self-contained, so it's fully operate. What we did figure out though during the 17th fire is obviously those generators need fuel. Well, trying to get a fuel truck into the evacuation zone during that was a challenge. So we rectified that, but with vectors, but that's there'd be another risk is fuel.
Yeah.
If all the power shut off in town, where are you going to get your fuel to run your generator? Or propane, a lot of them are propane.
If there's a run on the market as far as people fueling up before they leave, they made an arrangement with the provider before so that they reserve fuel for the firefighters to fill the trucks.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna start to wrap up things. What do they do with regard to generating? Folks fueling their own generators.
It could, or it could, if they're improperly installed back into the power grid.
Okay, all right, well, so thank you guys for coming. So don't forget to take the survey. We're gonna email you guys a link to the survey if you've got the card, or the QR code, or the tiny URL. You can even get to it before we email it to you. And yeah, the survey, we get a lot of information out of it. It's the meat and potatoes of of this whole process. So hearing from you guys is, in my opinion, the most important piece of this process. Because you're the community, you live here, you know it better than anyone. Certainly more than I do or team does. So thanks for all coming. And I'm going to as well to Lucas, he's going to say a few last words. Thank you, everybody, online and in person. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Roberta. So we're all volunteers here, and we did get FEMA, I believe, funding or some sort of grant money through the county, through Fire State Council to help with the risk assessment and mapping. The WR is helping, and that's absolutely critical. But we need more community members involved. So Hannah and I, and Ray, we're involved, and Sarah. But we need kind of like a diverse array of people to help. We need good communications. We're trying our best, but we need good outreach. We're trying to reach out to the business community because protecting your business and making sure that your insurance stays affordable and you're doing the best that you need to do is critical. So we need stronger relationships to the business community and have those people actually involved in this a little bit more closely. Ultimately, we're going to be writing grants and trying to get projects. So with this plan, we're going to prioritize projects. We're going to get money to do that. So we'll just need help kind of all along the way. So we're slow in getting going. We're going to get a website going. We don't have it yet, so all we have right now is a Facebook account. Just say, just bring Fire State Council to find us on Facebook. We will get a webpage. And That will create that central place. If you haven't done so, please just share your email because we want to start creating a list so that we have a direct connection to you with all these next steps. So thank you all.
I do want to make one clarification. The funding for this project is coming from the California Parks. So that's where the funding is coming from. So thank you, California Parks and Rec.
There's a lot of leftover food. If you can put the donut holes in the Starbucks cups, please take them. They're super fresh. Please take some food home. I don't want food waste. Thank you all for coming. Oh, and Mary Carmen, who spent so much time, she was up till 1 in the morning interpreting this. The first time for the final presentation. What? Translating. Thank you so much, Mary Carmen. That was a labor of love. And just kind of piggybacking off what Lucas said, we need more members. I think it's really important that we are connected more to the Latino population here because it's like 40+% of the population of the spring. So putting that out there for future members of our board. Well, thank you.
All right.